Ladies and gents, what is going on? It is yours truly, Culture Shock. We are back with another episode. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I am the host, but I cannot be here alone. I got both my guys with me. I got Landon and Coach Firm Room. Landon, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Just lovely weeknight. Just getting off work. Um, yeah, ready for this last preseason game because that means we got seasons right around the corner after this. So we're ready to get it going.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree 100%. Coach Film Room, how are we doing?
Man, I'm talking ball with the boys. It's great. Nothing better.
Definitely nothing better than that. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let's go ahead and hop into the topic of the discussion. First things first, the Colts will be taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. This is the last preseason game. This is going to be an interesting one. All chips are on the table, all hands on deck. It's time to lock in because the season is right around the corner. I know these guys are pumped. I know I'm super pumped. Let's go ahead and talk about the joint practice. First things first to start off before we get into this. We took on Icy Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow, my mini goat, LSU legend. Joe Burrow is a quarterback that I just love, enjoy watching. His game is just so smooth to me, and he just never backs down whenever he's on the field. So he is a dog. The Colts happened to take them on in joint practice. Now the last joint practice was the Arizona Cardinals, so a lot of people took it, a little bit lightly. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals was a little bit more of a challenge, so it was a little bit more competitive in my liking. And then from what we heard per sources, the offense was a little rusty, and the defense was the ones that stood out of between the Colts and the joint practices. So we're going to talk about players that impressed through the joint camp practices. Of course, I can go ahead first on the offensive side. We got to talk about the quarterback play. I think the quarterback play was a little bit iffy, in my opinion, hands down on the offensive side. But when you look at the wide receiver room, of course, the wide receivers was in sync with Anthony Richardson towards the end of the practice. So that's a beautiful sign you want to see. Is there anyone Colts from we can start on the offensive side that impressed you through the joint camps for the Colts?
Just both joint practices or this one?
Just both.
I'm obviously I wasn't there, so like I have to go give everything with a grain of salt. I would say, man, I really like some of the stuff you've seen from AD Mitchell, just like from some of those clips. It's tough to tell in those one-on-one settings because, a little trick of the trade for everyone. You can't really film during those team periods unless you're a team authorized social media. And even then, sometimes they won't even let you film. So you really get very limited. Everything needs to be approved before you can post it, unless you're a fan who's sneaking your phone in the stands. But which happens. I have some funny stories about that. But some of the stuff that just even the Colts have posted out, AD Mitchell just seems to be making plays. You just hear his name, even with the ones. He's a guy that I'm just really excited to see out there. Again, hard for me to tell. I'm a guy that likes to see the film before I make any sort of those calls, but just kind of what we've seen, AD Mitchell, and what you've heard.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Eddie Mitchell for sure. There was a clip we mentioned from your tweet when he was talking about Anthony Richardson when he was getting trash talked in the Bengals camp. We just talked about all he does is hit the spots, and then there was a one beautiful throw that he landed in on spot. The clip that came out a few days ago. I was like, well, from the looks of this spot, it looked like it was spot on.
Well, let me talk about the trash talking real quick.
Yes,
because I definitely want to address that. And I think it's important probably for fans to hear this too. That's a good thing. Like, that's a good thing. Like, you want them to stop talking trash, like, make them stop it. Like, if you lost that day, like, the pain that you feel, like, you think that, like, Colts fans are feeling, like, this pain of, like, hearing their quarterback get trash talked, like, on Twitter. Like, do you think, imagine how, like, actually playing feels. Like, trash talk's part of the game. If you think that doesn't happen. That wasn't happening in the Rams game. That wasn't happening in the Jacksonville game. That wasn't happening in the Houston game. Like, every single game, players are talking trash for the most part. So, like, that's something that they are very used to. But even in a situation like that, they struggled. You want to make them stop, go out and prove it. And it might not happen in this preseason game because the starters aren't playing for Cincinnati, but, like, go use that as fuel to the fire. Like, they think all you do is run. Now go show them you're a passer. And, like, that's a very good thing. And sometimes you need, one of the things I've learned from just hearing football players talk and, like, also being around them for a little bit is that, like, sometimes you need that practice that wakes up a sleeping giant. So like having those practices that look terrible, or even like for a quarterback, having that interception that looks brutal that you can go learn from, that if you actually use it the right way, those are super helpful things. So like I don't necessarily think it's a insane negative that like there was trash talking from the Bengals at practice.
Yeah, I agree 100% for sure. Definitely agree with you 100% there. And I can segue this into Landon's point about the quarterback struggles. We heard about how he struggled. Anthony Richardson struggled at the beginning of camp, but towards getting to the end of the Bengals joint practice, the offense started dicing and locking in. You can give us your thoughts of players that probably stood out, or from the Cardinals or the Bengals joint practice, but just talk about your thoughts about how the quarterback struggling can actually probably be, a morale booster for him, so he knows what not to do next time, like repetition wise, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, obviously, I'll preface this too. I also was not there at the joint practices, so really, you're not able to see what took place. You're just able to read about it and then see the clips that are posted, which those can be dicey as well a lot of the times. So without actually seeing the practice with my own eyes, it's kind of hard to, I guess, give you real good insight. But just from reading some of the stuff that I read, it's actually somebody that has been killing it on the second team, not even the first team offense, second team offense. That's Will Mallory. You hear just about every joint practice they've done, or really just every practice, like he's made a play of some kind. And I think now with the Jelani Woods injury, I think it was really between those two guys at the end of camp is like which one of those two guys emerges, because I think your twin Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox, I think those guys were locked in. I think Ogletree had a good shot already, and so it was really Jelani Woods, Will Mallory, who can step up. Well, now with Jelani Woods' injury, Will Mallory is kind of forced to be that guy, and to see that he has been doing it at a good level, which, like I said, granted, a lot of it has come with Joe Flacco and the second team and all that, but you're still wanting to see guys make plays and step up. And I'm excited. He was a guy that I thought showed some really good promise last year, made some really good plays as well whenever he got into the games. And I think his growth moving forward is going to be really important as well. So I'm excited to see how he kind of parlays this opportunity into showing something actually out there on the field. That'll be interesting.
You can't parlay anything, but like I know what you mean.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's
still a punchy subject.
That's frowned upon technically.
Yeah, it is technically, but hey, it is.
As far as
I'm glad you. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too.
Yeah,
we was talking about roster cuts. Yeah. You good?
No, I was just going to touch on that second. Yeah, I was going to touch on that second part as far as the quarterback play goes. I mean, you never want your worst practice to be in your last practice. You would kind of want to see growth throughout, but that's what you're going to have. Like, people are going to have to get used to this, because this is what it's going to be this season. You're going to see ups, you're going to see downs. Like you're going to see inconsistencies. It's just going to happen at that quarterback position with Anthony Richardson. That's just who he's going to be this year. Like, I heard something earlier today, like tonight's game, whenever he plays the Bengals tonight in Cincinnati, it will be the most snaps. If he can eclipse over 10 snaps, it will be the most snaps he's played on the road in the NFL. That's crazy.
That's insane.
That's insane, right? So I mean, you are going to have ups and downs, and like he's going to make plays that are just like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? And then he's going to come out and he's going to do some boneheaded stuff. It's just the nature of growth in the NFL, and so.
Yeah, and let me say that, because I want to touch on that a little bit. If people want to, and like this is like setting expectations realistically, is like, I know how emotional that week 1 game is going to be, but like, and I know this, if I'm in that building, I'm not saying this whatsoever. So like if I was in the QB room, like there's no way they're saying this, but as a fanalist, or whatever you want to call me, from afar, like I'm not really thinking wins and losses early on in the season. I'm thinking growth. Like I want to see if Anthony Richardson goes out there and puts together some good scoring drives, doesn't turn the ball over, he has an overall solid day, but CJ Stroud dices up our defense, I don't care. Like that's not going to bother me particularly because right now Anthony Richardson's growth is far more important than Jalen Jones or Juju Brents. That's just a fact. So like that's going to be more important to me, especially early on, than obviously what all three of us know, and I think a lot of fans do. What you play in September doesn't look like what you play in January. So I think that we'll hopefully see similar to, the way that I kind of look at it is I kind of want to see a 2023 Packers progression would be ideal where, we talk about how awesome Jordan Love was, and he absolutely was, but like they had a super young offense.
He struggled at the start.
Like there were games that were not exactly highest paid quarterback in the league games from Jordan Love or the entire offense. So that's something that I think fans have to be ready for. As much hype that this, quarterback has gotten, and obviously Shane Steichen has gotten, it doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen in however many games he's played.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the good thing is, though, just like, because I know saying that, like what I said, and then what you just touched on as well, it's going to send people over to a ledge, and they're going to be ready to jump off the ledge. Like, oh, no, we don't care about wins and losses. Like, we're going to lose games. Nobody's saying that. But I think on a good side of things is we've actually seen that kind of progression from Anthony Richardson in his last season at Florida. The quarterback he was in September and October, whenever he was at Florida, was not the same guy we watched in December at Florida. Like, it was very rare to see him make the same mistake multiple times as the season went on. And I think that's kind of what you are looking for whenever you look at these young quarterbacks is it registering? Is he getting through, the reads quicker? Is he getting into the timing of the offense quicker? And now he has a year of growth within this scheme. He should know the verbiage, but he still hasn't played. And call me old-fashioned all you want, I guess. I'm an old man. It is what it is. And I personally believe, I think NFL players get better whenever they play NFL football. You've got to play.
What a shocking take.
Yeah, I know, right? You've got to be on the field. And so just the lack of games. I mean, he's started 17 games since high school, going all the way up to high school. So you're just going to have to buckle in. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a roller coaster. You're going to see some spectacular things, but you're also just going to see some things that, like what you were saying, you don't want to see the same things you're going to see early on. You don't want to see those in December.
And like some of the things too, like I posted one today. It was from that Denver game. And like, it was that one where he basically skunked the ball to Pittman. And like,
the zero, the blitz.
Yeah. So he was hot on that play. Like, but it's one of those things where, like it's not screaming in front of you, but he's seen that look before because they ran the same pressure that they did in Jacksonville. It just wasn't from empty. So it was a little bit easier to disguise. So it wasn't exactly. But I'm interested in process. Like, I think when you go look at like Stetson Bennett's game, like versus the Rams, and I forgot who tweeted this out. I saw it on my timeline, but it's like, I don't care that you threw a billion interceptions. I want to know what you saw, how we can fix it, and that you'll learn from it. And that's what being an NFL quarterback is. It's not being like you're going to experience a humbling. Like, go look at the Chiefs last year on Christmas. Like, you're going to experience humblings in the NFL. That's how it is. A team is not going 17-0 probably this year. That's kind of where I'm at. So, like, there's going to be some really tough times, and you have to trust Cam Turner, Jim Bob Cooter, and Shane Steichen that they'll take that film, use it as an opportunity for Anthony Richardson, and then even if it doesn't even happen this year, but it happens next year, you want to see the natural progression, and that's what we're looking for. I don't necessarily think a guy like Anthony Richardson is going to come out and have maybe that CJ Stroud year that people want. He's going to make some athletic plays, but like he also just hasn't played enough football to see a lot of the looks that he's going to get.
Yeah. And absolutely. And like, don't be discouraged. I mean, like, it's hard to set up here and say going into year 8 of Chris Ballard that it's not about the wins and losses.
Yeah, that's what's crazy, and I know I'm already
because eventually,
don't
don't click that.
do not.
But like in a weird way, though, like I mean, like it's true, and I mean, eventually, yes, like the result, like you got to show result, you got to show something. And I think last year
wins will come with it. The wins, like that's how this league kind of is. If you have a quarterback that's as special as Anthony Richardson and he's really growing, like you're going to win football games. This offense is
and you got to
really
remember
good.
He's 22. He's 22.
Yeah, exactly 22 years old, which is like he's got 8 years before he's 30, and like the way that like get out of it. Yeah, like it's a marathon, not a sprint with Anthony Richardson. I think there's really. Daniel Jeremiah said this after the draft, and I think I couldn't agree with it more, is there's only a few staffs in the NFL that I actually trust to develop Anthony Richardson. Like, that's... Yeah.
Well, even just rookies in general. I mean, like Andy Reid and the Chiefs, they're known for, like, they do not just throw rookies out into the fire. Andy Reid likes to set guys and have them learn, develop, and then get on the field, play the snaps. And I think that's kind of where last year might have been a blessing in disguise in a weird way, is because now like he's able to learn the verbiage, and like there's even just little bitty things that go into it, like knowing where the training room is, knowing where your doctor's visits are, knowing where you can get the cafeteria and the food and the people you talk to on a daily basis, learning those people. Like there's so much. It's not just like Madden where you just hit start and you just roll it out there.
There's so much about the NFL that is not about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like these guys aren't robots. Like I mean, exactly. there's a human aspect to it too. That like the more comfortable they get with everything, like not just with the playbook, but just with everything, the city, the organization, the women serving their lunches to them. Like I mean. Like you're able to grow within that kind of an environment, and I think that's kind of where we're at now. Is now it just becomes more about, okay, can he stay on the field? Can he get the snaps that he needs to develop properly? And like you were saying, the wins will come. The wins will come eventually.
100%. You guys definitely. This is why I need you two both on the show. But I agree with you both 100%. If the Colts fans don't agree with you guys at this point, then they're just going to be miserable. But we were talking about Lena was mentioning Will Mallory earlier and talking about roster cuts, and I think that's a good way to segue into the next conversation. Roster cuts is right around the corner, and there's some favorite players that you guys like watching on film and things of that nature that might not make the roster. And, it's going to be really crucial because there's a lot of players that, doesn't end up in Indy, but end up elsewhere and actually getting success moving forward. So we miss out on a lot of opportunities. But there's a few guys that we're going to get our thoughts on. We can start offense and defense, one each. We can start on the offensive side first. I think I can go with the wide receiver that Laquan Treadwell. I think he should make the roster. The dude's been dogged. I mean, of course, he's a vet in the NFL and everything, but he shows he still got it. Like it's preseason and everything, but everybody's still fighting for a spot on the roster. And I think, he proved enough through camp and preseason that he deserves a roster on the spot. And next man up, granted, like if somebody goes down, unfortunately, if that does happen, I think he can step in and actually get some good reps in for a guy his age and what he can do with his ability and catch the football. My go-to guy for offense is definitely Laquan Treadwell. I know one of you guys are going to mention my second guy, but I don't want to mention. I'll let you guys share that for. We're going to start with Colts film room. Who's one offensive guy that you would love to see make the roster?
Is your other guy Trey Sermon? Because he's making.
He's already on there. Yes.
No. Mine is probably gonna be Dalton Tucker, the right guard who's been running with the twos at points during the year. The whole puzzle with the offense, I think, got a lot clearer with the Jelani Woods injury, where I think he's likely to be on if they intend to keep him, which is I'm not privy to those conversations, but assuming they intend to keep him, he'll probably end up on either one of the IRs or PUP. depending on whatever the medical evaluation is. But I think that cleared up some things on numbers, what they wanted to keep. But talking about Dalton Tucker specifically, like he's a guy that's just kind of came in and inserted himself into a crowded room. I think I'd mentioned this on the spaces that I did with Destin and Zach Hicks last night, but like people don't talk about how the fact that this run game and everything that is currently in the system, a lot of it's coming from Jeff Stoutland in Philly, and a lot of that philosophy. He was the running game coordinator when Steichen was there. He's been the running game coordinator for a while because he's probably one of the more respected assistant coaches in the entire league. And I think you look at the kind of the way that they're kind of building the future of the offensive line out, and I look at a guy like not maybe Tucker, but some of the guys that maybe you thought would have taken spots over him, like a Gonzalez or a Bortolini. And I think some of those guys were getting the let's call it the Cam Jurgens treatment, where like we're going to draft this guy. We don't intend for him to necessarily start for us, but he'll come in and hopefully be the next generation kind of offensive lineman. But I think what I saw from Dalton Tucker is a guy that like he might be able to straight up play. Like he kind of has that Will Fries body type at right guard. And obviously I've talked about it at length. The Colts are going to have a lot of decisions to make about the future of their offensive line moving forward. But Dalton Tucker's a guy, it's like you kind of want him on your team at some point, given how, offensive lines are really unlikely to stay completely healthy. Numbers will probably prove that to you. And he's a guy that he could come in and just play. Like he's played so well. And like he's not clearing waivers. And I think the one thing that like Zach had mentioned, and this is the last because I'm rambling on about an offensive guard, but he had mentioned that like when the Colts lost Jackson Barton to the Chiefs in waivers like a couple of years ago, like Ballard was pissed. He was pissed about that. And like this might be a lesson of we're just not going to let coveted UDFAs that have played well in the preseason, that are athletic offensive linemen, I'm going to call it the open market, hit waivers and expect them to clear to go back on your practice squad. So I think that that's something you maybe take into account, and Dalton Tucker probably makes this team.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Landon, let us know. I hope you're going to say the name. I hope you're going to say, but let us know the one guy that you would love to see make the roster from the offensive side.
Oh gosh, the pressure's on because I don't know. I don't even know.
I have no idea who this is.
Well, knowing Marcus, it's probably Bean, isn't it? Is who you were wanting?
No, I was going to say Xavier Scott.
Oh,
I thought you were going Jason Bean. I was going to say, well, I don't know. He's played well.
Marcus, it's a great thing you're sitting down for this because I'm not sure that Xavier Scott is making the team.
Yeah, so this is funny. So it was actually running back is the position I was actually going with. And what has kind of turned out now to be like this weirdly crowded running back room with the running back 3 spot. So like you've got Jonathan Taylor, obviously your boy Trey Sermon's going to make the team, but like who emerges out like Tyler Goodson has played really great preseason ball. Xavier Scott has played really great preseason ball. Evan Hull has played really great preseason ball, and you can't keep 5. All like that would be what 5? Yeah, 5 running backs on the roster. I mean, you're probably keeping 3 or 4, I imagine, but one of those guys is probably going to get cut. For my money, it probably would have to be Xavier Scott. Evan Hull was the guy that I wanted to see make this roster. I loved some of the stuff I saw from him last year, really in the pass protection game. Because whenever you get into those kind of situations where you're trying to make the roster and you're all doing great as running backs, that pass pro is what sets you apart. And he showed he could do it at a really good level
last year.
In games last year.
It's been tough. Like unless I've tried to put together a cut up, there just really hasn't been an opportunity for the backs to pass protect this.
Yeah.
This year. At least in the preseason.
Yeah, and so like that's to me like that's kind of like what sets him apart. Like I would love to see him make the running back 3 role over Goodson, because and that's not a slot on Goodson. I think he should make the roster as well. Xavier Scott's probably going to be the odd man out in my opinion, but Evan Hull would be the one guy in that crowded running back room I think has a chance to maybe even possibly supplant Trey Sermon um, in those passing down. I think he's really good catching the football. I think he's really good running in between the tackles. I think he's excellent in pass pro. I think he doesn't do one thing like at an elite level, but whenever you're talking about backups to Jonathan Taylor, he does everything at a good level. Like he doesn't really have many weaknesses to his game. And he's a guy that I really want to see make this roster.
Man, it hurts my heart. It's definitely going to be so tough to read or see the news when that notification pops and it goes roster cuts and Xavier Scott doesn't make it. I'm going to lose it. I'm literally going to lose it because he reminded me so much of Sermon when he stepped on the scene and was just running hard, like every snap just running hard. I was like, this is the energy I love to see right here. So, I mean, if he doesn't get picked up and then he goes to somewhere like Houston or Jacksonville, I'm gonna go crazy. That's all I'm gonna say because I know he's going to get picked up immediately once he gets rid of if the Colts don't sign him. So it's gonna be tough, man. Let's go to the defensive side though. The defensive side is gonna be a little interesting. So we're gonna start with Colts film room, then we're gonna go to Landon, and then we're gonna go to me. Colts film room. Who's one defensive guy you would love to see make the roster?
Well, I don't think he has a shot of actually not making the team, but I want Isaiah Land on the 53.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I don't really think he's out of the question. I mean, obviously pending any kind of injury tonight. Like obviously have to do that. But I think he makes this team. Like, I mean, I've been basically saying it since the winter, to be honest with you, because Charlie Partridge comes in as the new defensive line coach, right? He does his first interview with Bo Allen, he coached it in Wisconsin. And they did this whole interview on the Colts defensive line and everything. And he's going through obviously like the Buckners, the Grovers. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, we like this UDFA Isaiah. He was on the job for 2 weeks and he's mentioning UDFA Isaiah Land. I think the Colts are really happy that they have him. He's came in and he's kind of just gotten better. And like, that's all you like. I think when you look at some of these things, like, can you really, if a player is on that upwards trajectory, that's what you brought a guy like Isaiah Land in for. How can you really be particularly, displeased with that? So that's a guy I definitely want to see make the team. From there, I have no idea. Something tells me that like because this roster is so solidified at the starters positions, like they don't have anyone that's really on the defensive side. And really the offensive side, the starters are in place. So if you're a third string guy, you're like really clawing. Special teams is going to be a big thing of who's going to probably make it towards the end. But like something tells me there's going to be a lot of surprise cuts because guys are getting waived that they want to claim. Like they would rather, get rid of a guy, maybe like a Taven Bryan for someone who, actually could maybe a younger guy that they think
play football.
What?
Somebody can actually play football.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But like I could totally see some of those. So maybe that's not a surprise cut. But like I think that they could replace these Eric Johnsons of the world, these Cam McGrones of the world, these like guys that maybe have been around, even like a Rodney Thomas, to be honest. If they see someone that they get waived, they would much rather take a fly on a young guy than maybe someone that they brought in on a deal that really doesn't hurt them either way. They can waive them and it's not a big deal. So I think the defensive side is less about the guys that they have and guys potentially that are going to be on the streets on Tuesday that they want to bring in.
All right, Landon, you're up. Who's the one guy?
Dang, look, he just straight called my guy out right there at the end of that.
Yeah, I know. I know. I knew he was gonna call
Like
him.
that's cold blooded. I'm gonna say Cam McGrone. 'Cause he got
No,
yes.
this is so awkward now.
I
Yes.
love it.
So like you were
All right.
saying,
Give me
like,
your reason. Give me your
well,
reason.
look, okay, one, and I know it's just the preseason games, and I get that. I think the coverage ability he showed at the linebacker spot was excellent. Like he played really, really, really well in that spot. He's only 24 years. He's been here 2 years. Like this is usually like the Ballard linebacker thing where we have these undrafted free agent, late round guys, special teams guys, and then they just somehow grow and grow and grow at the linebacker position. And that's credit to the coaching staff. They're great at linebacker development. I've really seen some really impressive stuff from Cam McGrone this offseason. He's out there making plays, and specifically, like, I mean, I don't know if it's going to stick or anything. Like the
This is crazy that I just called out your
I mean,
guy.
that's what I was gonna say. You said his name. You were just like these older guys that have been here for a while. I'm like, he's going into his third year. Like he's 24 years old. He's not old.
I didn't say he was old. I meant more like tenured.
But
no, finish your thought.
okay.
I owe you that because you
So
should.
yeah. So here's the thing. Outside and like they probably keep 4 linebackers, right? You're probably keeping 4 or 5 guys. Personally, I think it's probably going to be 4 guys. I think Alubi should be a lock to make.
That's a lock. Absolutely.
That's a lock. Obviously, Speed and Zaire. So who's the other guy that steps in to that 4th spot?
Grant Stewart, baby. Let's go.
See, that's who it's like. You got Grant Stewart and you got McGrone. I would love to see McGrone make this roster, man, because really the one area the linebackers have struggled in outside of maybe EJ Speed, it's been pass coverage. Like the linebackers just get ate up in pass coverage year after year, and a lot of that is Gus Bradley leaving them in that coverage and stuff like that. So like there's things you can do to minimize that. And we've actually seen some big improvement this preseason. Drake's the GOAT. He's also a badass.
Appreciate it.
Drake's the GOAT.
Hell yeah.
But I think if you can probably have 2 to 3 guys, I think that you feel comfortable about in pass coverage at the linebacker position, and McGrone has really, like, what we're not seeing in the preseason is a mirage, then in today's NFL where they're throwing the ball 40, 45 times a game, that's a premium. And if you can do that, and he's going into his 3rd season, I think you should make this roster. Good special teams player too.
Yes, I love it. But you know
All right,
how I have this.
no, I might give him his shot.
I don't necessarily think that he shouldn't make it. I'm not saying that he shouldn't make the team.
No, I don't.
I just question whether that's a realistic option, just because of how they just brought in a UDFA linebacker, and when you get down to something like that, that's just a move they made. I'm not saying.
No, I think the biggest hurdle, obviously, is the injury. That just like he missed this last joint practice. I don't know if he's going to play in this preseason game. That could possibly be the reason why they just brought in another guy, because of the injury and needing to replace that role. So yeah, it's an uphill battle if he's not going to be out there on the field.
But I can't say definitively that I disagree with Cam McGrone like being on the roster, because Cam McGrone has played with the 3s. So like, how can I really judge it? Pass coverage, I mean, he looks good out there. Like, it's not bad. When you're talking about linebacker pass coverage, like
it's so scheme dependent.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a whole thing. But yeah, I'm not gonna say he shouldn't be. I definitely don't think he's the lock that Isaiah Land is, or Alubi. Alubi is absolutely.
Oh yeah, Alubi and Land they're locks. They're making it. Yeah, they're making the roster.
And Grant Stewart's been with the 2s there.
Love Grant Stewart. It's the hair for me. I don't care. As long as I see the hair flowing down on special teams, I'm like, yeah, that's a dog right there. So, well, other than that, the last person, of course, we're not even going to mention Mike Abraham because he has to make the roster. Like, he's flat out phenomenal. But I was going to go with Jalen Carley's. I think Jalen Carley's, if I had to choose, for like CB504 position, and down between him and Daryl Baker Jr. I think we all can attest Jalen Carlos could probably win that battle. I think his ability to track the ball and his just athleticism of what we've seen from what we heard at the training camp as well. I think Jalen Carlos deserved to make that spot. That's going to be my go-to guy for the defensive spot. Already mentioned Grant Stewart, so that's honorable mention, of course. But with that being said, the game is around the corner. The Bengals versus the Colts is the last game. It's going to be interesting. From the ones I'm going to say personally, for what we heard from the joint practices from the offensive side, I would love to see some consistency. Not even if it's just the starters, just every rep in general. I would like to see a better offensive flow. Of course, I heard they got better towards the end of it, but I'm going to be watching it for entertainment purposes and just see how these guys are going to be locked in going into the season. So it's going to be an interesting game tonight for sure. But definitely, I know the roster cuts is going to be glued in, and hopefully, the Colts can make the right decisions. And if they don't, I'm just going to be one sad little baby when it comes towards the end. Is there anything else you guys wanted to mention? We can start with Sherman before we get up out of here.
I mean, like tonight, for example. So I think we need to set expectations, but also to a certain extent, it's the Bengals aren't playing their starters, right? So they've already come out and said none of their starters are playing on defense. The Colts are playing their starters. Generally, I would say it doesn't matter, but in this aspect, if the starters go out there, especially whether it be the secondary, whether it be at quarterback, and all that, and they struggle against the backups of the Bengals, I'm not going to say I'm going to be worried, but it is going to throw up a little flag in my head. Like, okay, maybe this is something I need to pay attention to and watch. Now, Richardson's not going to run. They are not.
I disagree. I guarantee we see 5 quarterback runs today.
I wouldn't be opposed.
5 is a little bit much because they're only playing a quarter. So 5 might be a little bit much, but I guarantee we see more than 2.
Yeah, but
I don't guarantee.
I mean, from the aspect of like Steichen's kind of saying like, hey, if something breaks down, like throw the ball. Like, don't just be running dudes over.
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the Colts had this exact situation, literally to a T, with Philly last year. Like, Philly did not play their starters in week 3 of the preseason, and here the Colts were out putting all their starters in. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know for a fact that offensively they didn't play because I was at the game. I don't remember defensively if their starters were in. I'm normally not the biggest fan of putting in your starters versus the second stringers because it's just a confidence killer, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
If things don't go well, it's a confidence killer.
So I'm not going to be concerned, but I mean, it is. I think that's a very good way of putting it. Is like you want to see like them go out there, have a couple touchdown drives, feel really good about going into week 1 with Houston. Like, what I don't want to see is kind of what we saw at the first preseason game where it's just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Quick 3 and out.
Yeah, quick 3 and outs. And then they're getting pulled.
I think the other thing is that just to justify why they're playing in the first place is that the only reason they are playing, in my eyes, and probably I think Shane Steichen may say it, but this is just my guess. It's a Thursday night game. They're not going to see game action for another. This is like a
2.5 weeks.
It's like a super bye. So like, I think they played close to the entire half last week or last year in this kind of situation. I think it's a little bit different. I'm actually going to go look after the show is over before the game to see if Philly actually did play their starters. I know Hurts didn't play, but I really just want to see him get in and out of the huddle. No penalties. That's no procedural penalties, like a false start. Quentin Nelson had some ticky-tacky holding calls last year. But, like,
the offense has been really clean in penalties this offseason. The defense is where the penalties have really –
And then defensively, let's not forget that a lot of the second stringers were dicing up the starters like not even a year ago. With Jake Browning, and then I don't even think Jamar Chase played in that game.
Yeah,
but
the running back screen game was
I was say it was more Jake Brown in that running room than anybody else.
Yeah, that
Crazy because it's just like
the
Colts,
screen game was lethal in that game. I hate it.
the Colts and the Bengals are just two different teams. It's really similar. Again, it's like almost copy paste with like playing the Bears last year, and then playing the Eagles, now playing the Cardinals, then playing the Bengals. The Bengals have a veteran. We can call Joe Burrow a veteran at this point. Definitely. They have veteran pieces around it. T. Higgins is not his first year catching balls from Joe Burrow. It's certainly not Jamar Chase's. They have a new running back, but like that's not something that needs like necessarily all
the code over there too, by the way, Zach Moss.
Yeah, exactly. Inside zone is inside zone. It's a little bit different when you have, but they've been repping this enough. It doesn't matter. Like they're just two different teams. They're more of a veteran team. The Colts are pretty young team. They have veterans that probably won't play very long again. Like they'll probably does DeForest Buckner really need a whole quarter? I don't know. So we'll see. I just think it's different teams. I just want to see them play with energy. They got their ass handed to them in the joint practice. Let's see them rebound.
Yep. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for them to come out, put on a show, have some fun, get some confidence going into Houston week 1, and then
yeah.
We'll see.
I love it. I love to hear it. That's what I want to see too. I want to run around my room in a preseason game. I don't care. It's a touchdown. A Colts touchdown is a regular touchdown.
I want the 360 spike. Sue me.
Yes.
That's all I want. That's what he can do it, and they don't even score. Like it's fine. Like I just
do it just to do it, right?
I just want to see it. It's a sick celebration.
It is. It is.
No, you got to score. I totally take that back. You got to score. Yeah.
I ain't even going to mention that, Colts film struck a nerve talking about Philly when Jalen Hurts touchdown at the end of the game, just wide open in the middle of the field, just to win the game. That QB draw was just the easiest touchdown I've ever seen.
See, that's why don't get me wrong. I dismiss the preseason a lot, but you can get little glimpses of things. And like that year in 2022 with the Matt Ryan team and all that, they struggled in preseason. Like they did not look good. The offensive line was getting killed constantly. And it was kind of a precursor to how that season went. And so there's little things, I'll be keeping an eye on that. Like, while I'm not necessarily like super worried about it, that if something kind of like piques my interest a little bit, it's like, okay, like I'll keep an eye on that.
Here's what I noticed from that 22 season, but you can maybe what do I know? Because I didn't study it because I was working in the NFL at the time, but I
better thank every fiber in your being that you were not breaking down film for that.
One of those high.
I had to break down the film of that Colts Broncos Thursday night game.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh my god! What was I going to say here? The one thing you definitely want to see is if they score a touchdown. I want to see the team rally around Anthony Richardson. Like that's what I want to see more than something else. You can get a really good clue of like how your team feels about their quarterback with if he gets hit, how is his teammates running to go pick him up? If he scores, is his teammates celebrating with him? Like it's these little things that like you think is like reading too much into it, but like a lot of the times like there are quarterbacks who are like, this is our guy, but like he's our quarterback. And then there's guys that's like, I will literally snap my ankle in half to protect this guy. Like they're really, and that makes a big difference into the season.
And we kind of saw that with the Matt Ryan thing that year. I know that's probably what you were referencing.
That's what I was saying. I'm not saying that they didn't respect him, but like it's also because like it was like their third, fourth quarterback. Like for some of these guys, like it just having a quarterback every single year, it's really hard to like. We're gonna rally around a whole new guy that has.
Sometimes that was their third quarter. It was their third quarterback in a single game.
Want me to rip Chris Ballard before we go real quick? If you want to know why 2022 didn't really work out, in my opinion, it's that you can't have a guy that's earned absolutely nothing in your locker room for the fourth straight year and send that message to the rest of your locker room and expect him to rally around it. Like Matt Ryan had earned a lot in the National Football League. He had earned. It's little bit similar to Kirk Cousins, to be honest with you, and what he's going to do in Atlanta. But he earned nothing in Indianapolis, and now the team is supposed to embrace him after having to embrace Carson Wentz last year. Also earned nothing in Indianapolis when they signed him. Phillip Rivers, I think, really worked to earn that. I think, and not saying that Carson or Matt.
Yeah, and like,
I'm saying after a third and fourth year,
Phil's one of one. There's only one Rivers. Like, he's one of one.
Exactly, and like I think they really, like it's just like an old feeling. Like, and you have to earn. I think there's something to like earning something in that locker room, like and earning that, and then your teammates rally around you, or like you're the rookie quarterback. That's different. You're our guy. Now we just brought you in. Now, even though you've been doing good things for another team, you haven't done anything for us. So I think that's all part of it.
Band-Aids don't work, and you're never a quarterback away. Yep. You're never a player away. I think that's a good lesson that hopefully was learned.
Hey, I hope so. There was a question asked from Mikey. He said, "What do you guys think of the over/under of wins of the Colts by the Colts? 12 games are the teams who were over 500 and Bears who have drastically improved. Are you still feeling confident in the team?" Well, for me, first, absolutely. Landon would tell you how much confidence.
I read that as the over/under for the Colts is 12 games. I was like, no way.
Right.
Sorry.
No, you're good, but I'm definitely still confident.
I think the over/under is actually set at 7.5 right now.
Okay.
No chance. No chance. It's 7.5. That is crazy.
I mean, I'm
taking that over.
But I'm pretty sure.
I would take that over, is what I should say. Yeah, that's crazy. 7.5. Like, I don't think a Shane Steichen team falls under 500. Like, there's the floor
at all.
8.5 is what they're set right now.
That's a big difference. That's a big difference. That means we're going 500 minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really follow it like that. I would say I am very confident in the team, but I also am not thinking wins and losses right away as right now. I will later on in the year, but like it's so easy to like lose that game in Houston and then think the sky is falling, like because you lost to a really good football team.
Oh, that's very easy.
It's really easy to sit there. I lost Madden, my Madden franchise week 1. Oh, I know the pain. Like it really is tough to lose that week 1 game and then think like this team sucks. We're never beating Houston. Just wait. Like it's a Gardner Minshew team was in that game in a win it game. So like a lot can happen between then and December. Some of it unfortunately is injury based, but like the Colts can stay healthy. There's no reason for me to believe that this team can't be successful.
And having Jonathan Taylor back is going to be a huge part of that. Like you got to think like JT. I mean, going back to 2021, if he can gain that form, and you kind of saw a little bit of it. Like towards the end of last season, especially in that Houston game, you kind of saw glimpses of like that old JT where he can just take over games, like, and you just can't stop him. I think that is such an underrated aspect. Like, I'm not going to say people are overlooking, but in a weird way, it does feel like it because the whole talk has been about Anthony Richardson, and I get it, the quarterback and stuff like that, but he's going to have ups and downs, as we talked about earlier on the show. Having Jonathan Taylor, if he can stay healthy and get back to that 2021 form, I mean, all bets are off with this team. They can go out every week and roll with anyone. And that's sometimes just what you just need, that one special player that can give you a chance every week. And I think Jonathan Taylor he's proved he can be that guy.
I agree 100%. I could just think about me being at that game before it went tragically terrible. When at that Saints game,
2 snaps together last year.
The Saints game, Jonathan Taylor, the biggest run.
Do we get more snaps of JT and AR together tonight than we did all of last year?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We already have.
That's crazy.
I think.
I'm ready.
I think.
We did.
Yeah, I was going to say they had 3.
We did week 1.
Okay, there we go.
Just let Jonathan Taylor run this year, man. Absolutely, though. Don't put him on no leash.
They're gonna
run. Let him cook.
They're gonna run the shit out of the football. Pardon my French. Like they're gonna run the shit out of the football all year.
I'm ready.
It's okay. I dropped an ass earlier.
Yeah, it's okay.
I tried not to. It just kind of came out.
Oh, I can't talk like I normally do on this show. We'd be banned off of YouTube.
It's all good. But we appreciate you guys. Tune in to the preseason game, Colts and Bengals. And then right around the corner is week 1, Houston. CJ Stroud's going to be eating grass. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting one.
I got the mouth of a defensive line coach. That's
I'm more
D-line coach talk. That's what I talk like.
I'm more Philip Rivers. Jesus Christ. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in. The game's right around the corner. It's just a few hours away, so stay tuned. We'll be back next week to give you a reaction. And we're going to prepare you for the regular season. But that is Colts Film Room. That's Landon. I am Culture Shock. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. You guys have a good night and enjoy the rest of your week.